What are the chances that you will have the 20% equity loan you took from the government today in the next 5 years following the interest-free period? And interest begins at 1.75% and increases with the retail price index plus 1% every year. Do you know how much that is plus your mortgage repayment? Have we been scammed? Is Help to Buy equity loan a good decision? Stay tuned to find out. I would. Hiya guys, you're welcome back to my channel again. Thank you so much for clicking on that video to watch, and thanks so much for watching the last video. It was really engaging with everybody on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you for dropping your comments. And if you haven't watched the previous video and you don't know what I'm talking about, I will be leaving a link in the description box on how to start your mortgage process today. And today we're going to be talking about Help to Buy equity loan, the pros and the cons, and if it is a good idea and how to work around it. So that is what we're going to be dealing with today. Are you new to my channel? Please subscribe. There is a red subscribe button just right under. Just click on it and you will subscribe from there. And if you're not signed in, Google would ask you to sign in, and that's pretty much everything, and it is entirely free to subscribe. Are you an old subscriber? Thank you so much for stopping by again, and let's get into it. So today we're going to be talking about the government's Help to Buy equity loan into details as much as possible. I will leave the technical stuff out, but I'll try to use simple words and simple English as much as possible. So why do I know this stuff? I know this stuff because we read about them extensively when we're going to get our own house, and also I've read about them just to know what is up to date. So if you come to my channel and you watch this video, you're getting a summary of everything you will find online. So having said that, I will be defining the Help to Buy equity loan in simple terms. It is a government scheme to assist people, first-time buyers or home movers, to purchase their own house. So what do I mean by home movers? Home movers are people that owned a property previously, but for whatever reason do not own a property at the moment. They are trying to get into the scheme, whether because they've sold their previous house or something, but they do not currently own a home. Then they can benefit from the Help to Buy equity scheme. However, it is important that I mention that the current Help to Buy equity scheme is for these two categories of people till March 2021. So come April 2021 up until March 2023, there will be a new scheme rolled out, and that one would be for first-time buyers only. So if you want to buy a house come April 2021, you have to be a first-time buyer. So home movers will not benefit from this scheme, but do not be pushed away or anything. Come the end of 2023, if that's when you're ready, there might be a new scheme rolled out that may benefit even more people. So the government keep revising these schemes and all of these things as much as possible. Like we talked about in the last video, if you want to use the Help to Buy equity loan in England, if you live outside of London, you will get a minimum of 20% help to buy a property. If you live inside of London, you will get 40%. So that is how it works. Having said that, if using it as a practical example, you want to get a house worth £200,000, you will speak to a mortgage advisor, all of those processes I mentioned in the last video. It is also important I mention at this stage that oftentimes the amount a lender will give to you is your salary times 4.5 to 5. So what do I mean? So if your annual income is £30,000, as an example, it is £30,000 times 5, £150,000. That is what your mortgage borrowing is. So the way it works is that you cannot get anything lesser than 20% from the government, and you cannot put down anything lesser than 5% towards the Help to Buy. That means you can put more. So whether or not the government can loan you more than 20%, you'd have to find out. Then the lender, which is the bank, will give you the rest. And this loan given to you by the government, which is the Help to Buy equity loan, is payable up to 25 years. That's the mortgage time. Some people mortgage their house for 30 years, 35 years, but you have to pay up by 25th year or by the time you sell your property, whichever is sooner. However, people decide to pay earlier only because the interest begins to accrue come the beginning of the 6th year, and I will get into it as I start the pros and cons. So first of all, we'll talk about the advantages of Help to Buy. So one of the pros is it's a quick way to get on the property ladder. So say your house of £200,000 and the bank is only happy to loan you 75% or maximum 80% depending on what you earn. You will then need to save up, say 20% or 25%. Imagine if after tax all you earn is £1,800 or £2,000. Imagine how you would then save up £40,000 or even more. You know, it could be very stressful. So with the government Help to Buy, you can then only save up 5% and the government loans you 20% and you can get the rest from the bank, and that way you can get a house earlier. So some people say, oh, I'm not happy to loan, I'm not happy to borrow, why not just wait till I'm able to save enough? It is entirely up to you. But what I won't do is I won't wait till I'm able to save £40,000. And you know why? By the time I am ready with my £40,000 come 2 years from the time I priced the house would have appreciated in value. So that same house with the same number of rooms, with the same components, would not be the same price come 2 years time that I'm ready with my £40,000, or come 5 years that I'm ready with my £40,000. So what does that mean? It means by the time you're then ready with the £40,000, the house won't be £200,000 anymore. The house might be £250,000. So what you want to save would then have increased. So your £40,000 will be of no use because you then need to keep it somewhere and then save more. It is a better way to get on the property ladder with your help. Another advantage is it helps you to secure a property value at the current market rate. I've touched that explanation in the previous pro, and you can see what I mean, because that way you tie the house down at the current market rate. The number 3 pro I will say about the Help to Buy is you don't have to save so much. So the first 3 points are sort of interwoven. You can pick my explanation of the third point, even from the first one that I've mentioned. You don't have to save £40,000 when you can use the remaining so pounds after taking out 5% from £40,000 to do other stuff. You can use it to invest. So that's one of the advantages as well. Speaking of another advantage, when we're going to get our property as an example, we had families that said, are you going to repay? Do you know about the interest come the 6th month? Are you going to pay the 20% to the government? Are you la 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 la? I will get into it as we get on. So you don't have to wait till the 25th year or when you sell the property. You can always remortgage. You can always speak to your lender where they add the equity loan to your mortgage, and you then do all those technical stuff with your solicitor, and then they will sort things out for you. I will get into it as I move on. So I haven't mentioned the pros. I will then get into the cons. While some people want to go for an old build or want to try to save their own money and they don't want to go into the government loan because they think it might be a scam. The number 1 con is you owe the government 20% of the property value. You owe the government 20% if you live outside of London, or 40% if you live inside of London. That is their share in the property at year 1 when you buy the property, and come year 5, whatever the market value of that property is. If the property is now £300,000 come 5 years as an example, then you will owe the government 20% of £300,000. It is not 20% of £200,000 anymore. So as the times go by and as the property appreciates, you will owe the government whatever the current market value of that property is, 20% of it. So that is why some people think, why should the government hold a huge stack of share in a property that keeps appreciating, that isn't theirs? You get what I mean? Another disadvantage is you cannot part exchange a house that is Help to Buy. So if you were interested in another house come 6 months later or whenever later, and you're thinking, oh, can I do a quick part exchange? No, you're not allowed to do that. It's one of the rules, because the house is not entirely yours, because the government has still got a share in the house. So the only way to do that is if you pay the government 20% of what the property value is at that point in time. You can then get free from the government or break free from the government, and that way you can speak to the lender and see how you can do the part exchange. So that's one of the cons. Another con is that some people might go into financial shock come year 6, especially if you've bought a house of your taste where you don't want to sell it off, you want to remain in the house following year 5, then your interest begins. So this is how it works. For the first 5 years, when you get the Help to Buy equity loan, you don't pay any interest. Oh, you're happy. Actually, you pay £1 per month to Target. So Target is the government administrator. They deal with the financial bit, the administrative bit of Help to Buy. So they will send you a letter saying all this technical stuff, and you're to pay £1 per month, which is £12 in a year. 12 times 5, do the maths. But well, I would say it's not a big deal. It's just £1. So that is what you pay, and it is not non-refundable for the first 5 years. Following that, come year 6, your interest will start at 1.75 in the year 6, and it will then increase as you get on. So it is 1.75% of what your property is. It then increases in line with the retail price index plus 1%. So solicitor or your mortgage advisor will do the financial bit for you. They will do the calculation. They will give you on a spreadsheet. So don't crack your head. So whatever your house value is at that point in time, you then begin to pay all of this interest and all of that, and it then goes up and up and up. So imagine if come year 6, your house has appreciated to £250,000 as an example, then you pay 1.75% of it, and then it increases in line with the RPI index, with the RPI plus 1% and all of that. So putting it in simple words, come year 6, you may be paying, say if your mortgage repayment was £600, you then begin to pay £600 plus that interest, which may be £120, depending. So £120 plus £600 brings you down to £720, and that's what you begin to pay come year 6. And that interest, that £120 as an example, is not being taken out from your 20% that you're owing the government. No, it is an interest for not paying yet, if you get what I mean. So it is one of the cons. Another way people repay, even though they don't have the 20% in full yet, is the staircasing method, and that's when they pay 10% of whatever the property value is at that point in time to the government, and they would have 10% left to pay later, or 10% or interest being calculated on the remaining 10%. So that is another way to go about it. But let me shock you, by the time you want to pay back their loan, whether the 20% in full or you want to do the staircasing method, 10% first, you have to go through a process that would cost you close to £1,000, if not. What do I mean? You want to pay the government back everything, or you want to pay just 10% of it back? You then realize that you have to do a risk value assessment, and by doing that, it is between £200 and £600 to do the valuation. And you have to pay a solicitor, which will be around £495 or more or less. You have to then pay the government administrator, that's Target, £200 to do the paperwork and the administrative bit. So you do the maths. At the end of the day, you're paying close to £1,000 for them to come and value your property, to do a risk assessment, to do a paperwork thingy, and at the end of the day, you have to have £1,000 on the side ish for you to know what your property worth come 5 years, so you can then begin to make arrangements so that you can then pay 10% of it back or everything back. So another disadvantage is you cannot let the property out. So you know how we want to move on to the next level, and you probably want to let this current property out while you get another one, and your rent for this current property pays the mortgage while you then get another property, and that way you're building up property in the UK, which is very, very good. But you can't do that if you've got the government share still holding or the government's loan still on. So you have to pay them back by whatever method you choose, and then you can go into letting your property out. So that is another disadvantage that some people fear, is that you cannot use it as a property acquisition method, like I just mentioned now, where some people would let one out and then buy another, and then let that one out and then get another. You can't use it except you pay the government back, and you'd actually find out that you can't even do that except you pay the government back. And by the time you pay them back and you want to let the house, you cannot buy another house with Help to Buy, because remember I said at the moment till 2021 March you have to be a first time buyer or a home mover, so you don't have to have a house. So if you want to let this one out, then you have to show evidences that you don't have a house before you can benefit from Help to Buy the next one, if you get what I mean. So that is even after you've paid back the government's loan from the first one, you know, you were in before. So it is that funny, it is that complex, and some people do not like Help to Buy. The reason people don't use the Help to Buy scheme is that they feel at the time they want to sell their house may not have appreciated enough. So like we know, new builds are overpriced, it's new, and by the time you want to sell it, come 5 years, come 10 years, you realize that it has become a whole build because you've lived in it. There are new designs, you know, better than yours at that moment. So if I'm the buyer, I would go for a new build that I would, you know, be the first person in, than going for an old build. As we find that prices of new builds tend to dip at the beginning, and later on it picks up though. So that is how it pretty much works, and people find this as a disadvantage, especially if they want to sell the house real quick or blah blah blah, or anything around that. So I haven't mentioned the pros and the cons of Help to Buy. If you have any other one and I haven't mentioned, please remember how we do it. Meet me on Facebook, inbox me, or Instagram, DM me, or leave a comment here. I'll reply your comments here as well. So that is how it pretty much works. At the end of the day, you're left with a decision to make. So do you want to really go into it or not? Or do you want to save your money yourself, and then just get the lender, that's the bank, to lend you the remaining, and that way you only have the mortgage repayments to worry about? Or do you want to go for an old build? So with the old build, you have to have at least 10% of the total property value, and then the government lends you the rest, and that way you don't have to worry about equity loan. So it is entirely up to you. Just speak to a mortgage advisor. So this video is just to enlighten you about the pros and the cons, things some people wish they knew earlier before they went into it. If not, they could have chosen another route and all of that. At the end of the day, how do you repay the government equity loan? It is best you remortgage the house. That way you speak to your lender through your mortgage advisor, or you speak to your mortgage advisor, tell them this is the amount I've paid. So if come 5 years you've been able to pay £5,000 as an example back to the lender, that way £5,000 plus whatever you dropped as your 5% is what you have as a share in that property. So they would check what the property is, what the value is at the moment. They will tell you if you're on negative or positive equity yet, and they'll do, you know, the technical bits for you, and then you can then remortgage. You can stay with the same lender, or you can go to another lender, and they will give you more information about remortgaging and about current interest rates, what is the best thing to do, and that way you don't miss it. However, if you want me to do a video about how to pay back your equity loan or remortgaging, then please let me know in the comment section in any of the ways we communicate, and I will do it. So at the moment, that will be all around the pros and cons, the financial shocks involved in Help to Buy equity loan. Please, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Feel free to share any of my videos if you think it's beneficial to some people, and please leave a comment for me. Subscribe to my channel, it is entirely free, guys, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much. This might be the end of the property video. I might have to go into my lifestyle back, or if you want me to do more, just let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and take care. Have a good day. Bye.